the dollar falls, that is going to be such a boom for the emerging markets because all their debt is in dollars. And so if we have a big drop in the dollar, that wipes out a good chunk of their, and it makes it so much easier to service that debt. So, we've got so much to lose. Now, in the long run, Trump is right about a lot of the problems that we have. He just doesn't understand how deeply they run and the can of worms that he just opened up, and what's really required. I mean, in order to fix the situation, we need to have a massive financial crisis. Stocks and bonds are going to crash. Interest rates are going to go up. Lots of unemployment. I mean, so many bad things have to happen as part of the process before we can get to the end of the tunnel. But he didn't set us up for that, so he can't take us there based on what he promised. You can't overpromise, and underdeliver. And he's opened up a great window for the Democrats to say, you see, look at what this, ultra conservative did. Too much tax cutting and deregulation. He fired too many government workers. The solution is a bigger government. We got to take the money away from the rich. It's like I could already see the 2028 election, and the Republicans again are going to have no credibility. There are no Republicans criticizing Trump other than me. So that they have
Peter,
to, support him.
Peter, just
Yeah.
just on that, because people are comparing this to the Nixon shock and the Reagan 1982. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's nothing like Reagan. I mean, Reagan. I mean, first of all, when Reagan came in '82, we were already in like at the end of a huge recession. Inflation. The Dow Jones was trading at single digit PE. I think the yield was maybe six. Long term interest rates, were already at maybe 9, 10%. Treasuries. I mean, they went up to like 13 early in '81, but we had higher interest rates. We had stock market was in a huge bear market. Um, but at the time, our debt to GDP, was still only about what 30, 40%. We still had trade surpluses. We were in much better economic shape than we are now. Uh, and we were, the economy is in much worse shape now than it was when Reagan stepped up. And the deficits are about to just explode, and the interest on the debt, which is now, more than defense, by next year, it'll be more than Social Security. So this is not the beginning of something good. Um, it's something. This is a big uh, problem that we have, and the risk is that we completely destroy the dollar. When Nixon took us off the gold standard in 1971, that's what brought us into the 70s, right? We had a tough decade because we went off the gold standard. But the world didn't go off the dollar standard. I mean, they marked the dollar down quite a bit, but they didn't abandon it. This time they're going to abandon it. And so we're down for the count. And so, gold went from $35 an ounce to 850. This time, in dollar terms, it could be as big, maybe even bigger. So think about that. Think about where gold would have to be. You have to start adding a zero to the price of gold, right? So not 3,100, but 31,000. But anyway, let me
Thank you, Peter.
move up. Thanks a lot. I have somebody else that I already brought up. It's all right. Let me just add a speaker. This is Alan. I'm also going to bring up um, who else? Alan and Holden.
Yep.
So we're yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Who's that?
Alan.
Yeah, Alan. Go ahead.
Yeah, when I was listening to Trump and this in his Rose Garden thing there, it kind of shocks me that more people. I guess it shouldn't shock me, but he blames all these other countries for this trade situation. And the reality is, like you said earlier, that companies are the ones who are buying those products from those other countries, and they're providing products for consumers in the United States to buy at the prices that they want to pay. So you're vilifying the country for providing what the companies, American companies and American consumers want, which
Yeah,
just
well, it's all being driven by the consumer,
right.
because consumers always want the lower price. They're shopping around, especially when the consumers are really stretched, like American consumers, and they have a lot of debt and they're buying stuff on credit cards. And so businesses are always trying to provide the lowest price. And
Exactly.
that has driven manufacturing offshore, because that was the only way for American companies to be competitive. Like I mentioned on my Twitter or my X today that 98% of our shoes are imported, footwear, dress shoes, sneakers, whatever. It's all imported now. We
Yeah.
used to make all that stuff ourselves, but the reason that it's so hard for a shoe company in America to survive is because no one is going to buy the shoes because they're going to be too expensive. And so, as some
Yeah.
companies
If you
started
really
moving their
wanted,
production to China, more
if
companies had to go to
Americans
China.
really, if Americans really wanted to uh, have less trade, it would be really easy. They just buy whatever, they just start buying things in America,
Yeah, but
but they
that's
don't
not
want
easy.
that.
Yeah,
Well,
you could go into a Walmart and walk through the aisles, and it'd be like
nothing's
a
made in.
scavenger hunt trying to find something made in America.
You and I are both old enough to remember when I'm Canadian. I remember Made in America, Made in America, Made in America, Made in America. And but that's not what people wanted. They
Yeah,
wanted
well,
made
people.
cheap.
Well, yeah, well, they want inexpensive. They don't, and they want quality, and all that stuff, unfortunately, has been coming in from abroad. Now there are reasons for that. That it would take a long time to get into. But the thing
Yeah,
is that the tariffs are not going to solve the underlying
anything,
problems. That
nothing.
because it's not that the other countries have tariffs, and that's the problem. The problem is that we're not um, competitive in that space, and because we've been able to outsource all this manufacturing, yet still consume. See, a normal country that did this to itself would have had a currency crisis a long time ago.
Yeah,
But
but they
because of the dollar's reserve status,
exactly.
we've been able to stop manufacturing, but still consume manufactured goods, because we run $1 trillion a year trade deficit.
But that's changing. And the other thing that I really have, I'm kind of shocked. And again, I'm kind of shocked, but I shouldn't be. Is that these tariffs are going to cause the economy to slow down and prices to go up. So stagflation, I think it's been around for all of Biden's terms, but it was on the growth was overstated and the
Exactly.
inflation was understated. But now it's got so it only showed like 1%, 1.5%. And because there was still economic growth showing, people didn't get too worried. But now he's causing what caused all the problems in the 1970s, which is
Well,
now the
people,
economy is going to slow
yeah,
down to
I'll
a
stop there a
recession.
sec, because
Sorry,
people people did get worried, just not you know the mainstream financial media, not the rich. They didn't understand the plight of the middle class and the poor. But even as the government was talking and Wall Street was talking about how we were having a good economy, and the Fed was talking about the good economy, the average individual living in that economy knew that it wasn't good. That's
no,
why they elected Trump. And Trump was correct in his assessment that the economy was bad, but he promised to change it. And that's going to be the big disappointment, because it's going to get worse for the very people he claimed he was going to help. That's going to be the big issue that's
well,
going
and
to
I
damage.
think that Peter, I think that the stagflation could start to be 4 or 5%. And gold's been telling us something for a long time now. First of all, it started out because of the death spiral of debt and the cost of servicing the debt. But now you're throwing stagflation on top of that. Gold's telling everybody,
Yeah.
there's something wrong here, folks.
Gold is the canary in the economic and monetary coal mine. And, gold, people weren't paying attention to it for a number of reasons. And then kind of Bitcoin showed up and really stole a lot of gold's thunder as they marketed it and promoted it as digital gold. And this is all about to change because and put it someplace that nobody pays attention to it anymore. And maybe more people will start.
Peter, when you got companies like Flow Machine.
Look, look. The thing is, I bought a lot more gold mining stocks than I bought gold, right? Because I believed so much that gold was going to go up that I wanted to be leveraged for a lot cheaper than what I paid when gold was under 2,000 and now it's over 3,000. So it's a rare opportunity that people were wrong can make more money than people were right. Because the people that didn't buy gold stocks didn't buy them because they expected the price of gold to go down. If you told somebody a year ago that gold would be 3,100 today, they would have loaded up on gold stocks. The reason they didn't is because they never thought this could happen. But people should be buying the hell out of these stocks in the morning. I got a fund, the Euro Pacific Gold Fund, EPGIX. I mean, I'm partial to my fund because we run it and Adrian Day manages it. But you know, I think I'm going to make a tremendous amount of money on these stocks. I think anybody who buys them is going to make a tremendous amount of money on these stocks. I mean, I could be wrong, but I mean, I don't think I am.
I don't think you
And
are
I- and
either,
I
Peter.
and I can't think of a better speculative investment. I mean, I do look at gold mining stocks as speculative, but given how much money they're earning right now, I
They're
mean,
not
they're
that
either going to
speculative.
pay massive dividends, they're going to buy back all their stock. I mean, look what people were paying for Newsmax yesterday. People have lost their minds, right? They
Totally.
just buy ticker symbols. They have no idea what they're doing. I mean, that Newsmax had a market cap greater than most of these gold stocks.
Crazy.
And so the markets are insane from Bitcoin to Newsmax. But while some stuff is ridiculously overpriced, other things like these mining stocks are ridiculously underpriced. And people are going to look back, whatever, 5 years from now, who didn't buy these stocks. And it's going to be, holy crap, how could I have not bought them? You know, so I just buy them. And people should be buying
Peter,
silver too, because silver is also underpriced, just like these mining stocks.
I wanted to thank you for being a rational person on the airwaves, and I really appreciate all the work that you do. And thanks for letting me talk for a while, and keep it up, because we need more rational voices out there instead of these nut bars at CNBC cheerleading
Yeah,
everything like Bitcoin and other nutty stuff.
yeah.
And when there's opportunities out there, so good on you. Thanks a
Thanks.
lot, Peter, and I'll
Thanks.
move on.
Thanks, Sal. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
why
take care.
CNBC doesn't have me on, and they haven't had me on in many, many years, is because they don't want the truth coming out. And they want to keep lying to their audience. And the last thing they want is me, especially with Bitcoin, because they take so much money from Bitcoin advertisers. I wouldn't be surprised if that's part of the deal. Hey, we'll advertise on your network. You keep, you know, hyping up Bitcoin and make sure Peter Schiff never gets anywhere near CNBC to tell anybody, to not to buy it. Right? That might be part of the deal. But anyway, Carlos, you're up. Maybe you're not. Who's this guy raising his hand? That is Aaron. Aaron, you're up.
They're going to cave just like Canada and Mexico did on the tariffs.
Who is?
Every country.
What do you mean by cave?
Like you know how Canada was trying to speak a big game and then they caved? That's what every other country is going to do. And
Well,
silver is going to go 1-to-1 with gold.
1-to-1?
Yep, 1-to-1.
You mean 100-to-1?
No, 1-to-1.
You think the price of silver is going to equal the price of gold?
For industrial demand, I do. Yes.
Well, I mean, I think there's no way that's going to happen. I mean, gold is 3,160, and silver is 3,370. There's no way those two metals are ever going to be the same price. That's
How much
never happened
future
in history.
contracts get traded today?
Well, it's irrelevant. But I don't think all these countries are going to cave. They have no reason to, because we're putting tariffs on goods that come in from every country in the world. So nobody is really at that big a competitive disadvantage. But again, they don't need America. We don't have if they don't want our dollars, then we don't have they don't need what we have. We just have paper. I mean, we do have some technology that they can import, but we're the ones that need the world because we don't have the factories. They do. All we have is a bunch of people who have money that the Fed prints, but that's not valuable. They got printing presses in Africa. They can print money in Africa. That's all it takes. We need to produce to export to pay for our imports, and we can't do that right now.
Do you think Trump talked to all the other world leaders and basically know what's going down? It's just playing out now, or do you think that's just conspiracy?
No, I don't think he talked to anybody. I think he just did it. I think he talked to his advisors. He's got like his Peter Navarro. He surrounded himself by people who are filling his head with bad ideas.
Do you think you can run the country better than President Trump?
President is to stay out of the country and allow it to work. It would be a better. I think I'd be a much. I don't know that I could get elected.
Get on the ballot. Get on the ballot.
Yeah, but that doesn't just being on the ballot doesn't mean I'm going to get elected. People might not vote for me because they don't want to acknowledge the truth of what I'm saying. The way you get elected is by lying. And I'm not a very good liar. I mean, I don't like to lie. I just like to tell the truth. And so telling the truth is not a good way to win votes. But you know what? It worked for Milei, right? Milei got elected in Argentina telling the truth. But that only works when things are really, really bad. So the good news is things will get really, really bad one day in America. And that might be the opportunity for me to run. So it could happen.
But how do you feel about
Trump
releasing
really
the gold and silver coin a couple months back?
Excuse me?
How do you feel about Trump releasing the gold and silver coin a couple months back?
His own commemorative coin? Yeah, I wouldn't buy it. They have a big premium in there.
Do you think if Germany's president during hyperinflation would have sold them before that happened, you think that could have saved their country?
Saved what country?
Germany, when they went through hyperinflation. You think if their president would have done that before they went to hyperinflation, you think it would have saved their country?
Done what?
Release silver and gold coins.
They had gold. I mean, they printed a lot of money to pay their war debts from the Treaty of Versailles.
Well, a lot of them was burning paper just to keep warm because it wasn't worth shit.
They printed too much, and the result was the
You cut out, sorry.
Peter's been cutting out in and out this whole space. Nobody's been telling him, though.
I edited once. He maybe disappeared, but
I can hear you now. You cut out
Yeah,
again.
who's
Peter,
this?
can you hear me?
Oh, hey,
This
Holden.
is Holden. What's going on, man? I I don't know if that other guy still needs to talk or whatever.
No, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I obviously, so firstly, I actually, we debated like the globalization thing before, and I don't really know how necessary it is to do that again. But I want to go a little bit more into why, like, so today, like, if I were to go up there or you were to go up there and run for president, we would run on a platform of deregulation, cutting Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid, you know, making it so that the economy switches to free banking and just to capitalism and all that stuff. I don't see Americans going for that message at all, like ever. Or not, I shouldn't say ever, but there has to be a huge change in the culture in order to get something like that done in a feasible way. I think today people like the mixed economy. They like social security, welfare, and all that crap. And they think that unregulated capitalism leads to terrible outcomes, even though it's the only wealth creating machine we really know of. And I just don't I just I don't see I mean, of course a Malay crisis situation could happen, but Americans, when it comes to political belief, are when it comes down to it, we believe in the mixed economy, unfortunately.
Well, the problem is, too many Americans have been indoctrinated in the government school system. They don't understand the first thing about economics. Too many people are now living off the government in one form or another, so they depend on checks from the government. And people in America now no longer have the the type of ethics that we once had. It's not about the rugged individual. It's people want something for nothing. People believe they're entitled to the government to take care of them, for the government to provide them with things, and they don't realize that the government can't provide anything that it doesn't first take from somebody else. And so you have this dumbed down electorate, and Donald Trump won because he promised not to cut anything from anybody. No Social Security cuts, no Medicare cuts, no Medicaid cuts, no tax cuts. Everybody's going to get lower taxes. Everybody's going to get more benefits, right? He just promised everything under the sun, and he's not going to be able to deliver. He's going. There's the problems that he was elected to eliminate are going to get worse while he is president. Um, and I think that the pendulum's going to swing again. And as I've been saying, the reason I knew Trump was going to win the first time was because I knew the economy was weaker than everybody said. The reason I knew that Trump was going to lose his first reelection was because the economy was worse at the end of Trump's term than it was at the beginning. All this bullshit when he's out there saying we had the greatest economy ever when I was president, if that were true, he would have been reelected. The reason that so many people went for Biden was because he didn't deliver on his promises. People were upset that they were in worse shape after 4 years of Trump. Now, the economy kept getting worse. And so after 4 years of Biden, they were even worse than they were after 4 years of Trump. That's why they went back to Trump. But I said at the time Trump was elected, they'll go back to the Democrats because they're always going to throw out the insiders because things are going to keep getting worse. And all they do is blame whoever's power. And so it's going to keep shifting back and forth as things keep getting worse and worse and worse because nobody is willing to do the right thing because doing the right thing is too painful. And, it's worth it, but it's too painful.
Yeah, I predicted that Trump would win the election for the exact same reason in 2024 because people didn't like the inflation, the massive money printing while telling everybody to stay home. But I think like recently I've changed my mind on this, and not that there isn't a lot of truth to that, making Trump get elected easier because of the inflation. I think that what most articles I've been reading lately in the Wall Street Journal, I believe, have done a really good job of convincing me that it's he's an anti-establishment character, and a lot of people view him as that, and the trust in institutions and the
Oh
establishment
yeah,
generally has gone down.
that's definitely part of it because people blame the establishment for the problems. And yes, I mean that's part of why he won the first time too. He was sticking a finger in the eye of the establishment, and people wanted to do that. people voted for Trump because he was going to shake things up, and he felt their pain, and and he was right. A lot of Trump's observations are correct. Unfortunately, he doesn't have the right solutions. You know.
Yeah, and if Trump was running, the thing is though, he's like, just elect me. I'm gonna fix the problems. Don't worry how, but I'm gonna do it. It's immigrants. He blames it on immigrants or whatever nonsense that he wants to blame it on.
Yeah, that's an
Our
easy
problems are because of
scapegoat. That's
immigrants.
an easy
Yeah,
scapegoat.
our problems are because of immigrants. Our problem is because of this guy, of that guy, of foreigners ripping us off. Like he doesn't want to. If he actually ran on a free market platform, we're gonna deregulate. We're gonna cut Social Security. I mean, there's no way he was going to win either. I think
Well, he
so.
still talked about
That's the sad.
deregulation and helping business, but yeah, I mean, he ran as a populist. He didn't run as a conservative or a libertarian. Um, but he's surrounded himself by these people, who are blaming others for our problems, and crypto people. That's the other big thing. Is the mistake he made was he just, went after the crypto people, and his whole cabinet is full of crypto people, and his family, his son Eric and Don Jr. I mean, that's their family business now, is shit coins or whatever the hell they're doing in crypto, and they're just utilizing their fame and their father's political influence to just enrich themselves by scamming other people. I mean, that's basically what they're now doing. And so,
Yeah,
yeah,
and it's socially normalized. Like I don't understand how they could do that so just in broad daylight and nobody calls them out for it, with few exceptions. It's insanity.
oh yeah,
The fact that the president of the United States is doing scam crypto projects and nobody cares is just insanity. I mean, what world are we living in?
well, this is the world we're in. Anyway, thanks a lot, Ola. Hey, Carlos,
All right, I'll talk to you next
yeah,
time.
are you able to speak, Carlos?
I am. I am. Can you hear me okay, Peter?
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Hey, thanks for hosting the space tonight. I think it was a couple weeks ago, Peter, I saw you on one of the Fox programs, and I about fell out of the chair that they had you back on.
Yeah, they have me on once in a while.
Yeah, but no, I want to get your thoughts on a few things. Like, to me, in the anticipation of Liberation Day, like, to me, instead of posing all these tariffs, like the true liberation would have been perhaps an executive order to end the federal income tax and truly
Well,
liberating.
he can't do that. He can't do that by executive order.
Yeah, but and again, just getting back to the idea of creating additional taxes for the American taxpayers, and I think we can all agree that there's a need to really reindustrialize the United States. Uh, Now, getting there is the difficult part, and I wanted your thoughts. Like, what would that look like in order for United States manufacturers to again be able to reestablish manufacturing here in the United States, or because the economic climate is so turbulent all the time, is it even possible, Peter?
Yeah, well, we're going to need a lot of deregulations in also in the labor market. A lot of the labor laws need to go. A lot of these wacky environmental laws. Not that I, want a polluted environment, but a lot of the regulations have gone too far. It's very difficult to build factories in the country. The permitting and all the other things you got to go through, and it's not just the federal government; it's state governments and the local governments. So there's a lot of government barriers that make it hard to manufacture here, but we have to rebuild supply chains that don't exist anymore. We have to train workers that don't know how to do anything. And or we have to build robots that could do it, but there's going to be a big investment. And where does the money come from to finance that? We have to start saving so that we can finance it. That means we have to stop spending. Well, our whole GDP is based on people spending everything they earn and then some. So the only way to get back to the type of economy that Donald Trump wants, and I agree, that's what I want too. But the only way to get there is to go through a massive detox, not just a little bit. I mean, we're talking stock market collapse, bond market collapse, bankruptcies, defaults, failures, people getting. I mean, we're living in this huge bubble that has to pop. The reason it hasn't popped is because nobody wanted it to pop because it would be so painful. And so they kept blowing air in it. And I think Donald Trump is going to try to rush back to that. Things are going to get so bad that they're going to be talking about stimulus checks and QE and all that stuff. They can put the house of cards back together again once it completely collapses. I don't think there's going back. And I mean, I'm glad that this is happening in that it needs to happen. It should have happened